Our story begins in the far reaches of outer space, where a group of Earth's mightiest heroes find themselves on some mysterious space station in the middle of nowhere. And from outside, they can see another group, or another space station, with probably some more people on it, and that's the only thing they see, and they're kind of confused as to what's going on. So we have a group of the X-Men with Colossus, Wolverine, Rogue, Charles Xavier, Cyclops, Storm, Nightcrawler, and Magneto. So he's with the good guys. And then we have a group of the Avengers consisting of Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, the Wasp, Thor, She-Hulk, and Hawkeye. And then Spider-Man is on his lonesome, as well as the Fantastic Four. We have Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and then we have the Thing, and of course we have the world's smartest man, Reed Richards. So that's our group of heroes for this story, and they're kind of just questioning what's going on in this moment. Reed is kind of like using his big brain to explain, hey, I think we've all been transported here molecularly, and we've been broken down to our atomic levels and reassembled here on this space station for whatever reason, and there's another group over there. So as they kind of spiral closer, they can kind of see who's on the other ship, and it's a bunch of bad guys. And this group is maybe not as big as the heroes group, but there are some very, very heavy hitters here. Of course, Dr. Doom, everyone's afraid of him. We've got the Molecule Man, who can control molecules down to their atomic level, so he can essentially do whatever he wants. We have the Enchantress, who is an Asgardian goddess with magical powers. Ultron, made of adamantium, pretty much indestructible. Dr. Octopus, one of Spider-Man's smartest and most long-lasting villains. Kang the Conqueror. We have the Absorbing Man, who anything he touches, he can absorb its properties. We have the Lizard lurking in the background, kind of crazy, just kind of there because he's a vicious animal. And then we have the Wrecking Crew, a group of some big burly bad guys who have a bone to pick with a bunch of heroes, and they're all really strong, and two of them have some really powerful weapons. And then to top it all off, we have the Destroyer of Worlds, who ever hungers, Galactus, and he's with the bad guys as well, but we all know Galactus is just kind of there. He's not really bad or good. He just kind of does and is. So that is the tables, and as these two groups start to survey each other, they see something off in the distance of the emptiness of space. Some cosmic power in front of their very eyes is pulling bits and pieces of the universe and the galaxy into one orb, one planet, one battle world. And as they witness this, they are once again transported, and they are transported as groups onto Battle World, which is this planet right here. And while this is going on, they're all kind of just questioning, why is Magneto here? He's kind of a bad guy. I don't think we should trust him. And the mutants are kind of like doing their own thing as well. They're just kind of talking amongst themselves, and the heroes are just like, I don't know what's going on, but we should all work together right now at this moment to figure out what is happening. And while all this is happening as well, Ultron is just like, I don't know many things, but I do know that if there's something organic, I don't really want it alive, and everything around me is alive, so I'm just kind of gonna go crazy and attack everybody. So that's what Ultron does. He just goes off on his own and starts blasting everyone. Everyone's like, holy crap, this guy's adamantium, he's indestructible, and Ultron's just like, I'm Ultron. Blah, blah, blah. So while everyone's fighting this guy, Ultron, blah, 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 Doom is like, hey, Molecule Man, I know you're kind of a loser and kind of pathetic, but you're kind of the most powerful dude that we have here, and you can really do whatever you want. And then at this point, Ultron is over here, and he's like, hey, look at this big guy, let me blast him. So he starts attacking Galactus. And Galactus, like, he doesn't notice a lot of things, but he's kind of annoyed by Ultron. So he's just like, hey, Ultron, you wanna mess with the power cosmic? Well, that was pretty good. So he just kind of absorbs Ultron's energy, and Ultron just kind of drops to the ground. And that's when the planet starts to put together, and then Galactus is like, hey, I sense that power. I know exactly who is behind this. So Galactus, he just all of a sudden, he goes off, he goes ham. He's like, hey, I'm taking off. I'm going towards this power, and it's the only other thing powerful than me. So I'm going to confront it. So Galactus is going towards the Beyonder, and Doom is like, if this guy's going up there trying to get all that power, what should I probably be doing? Because we all know that Victor Von Doom seeks power always. So Doom is kind of piggybacking on Galactus at this point towards the force, or towards the power that is the Beyonder. And come to find, they both get there and they cannot go past the shield. So they're both just kind of whoosh, blasted to the surface of this new planet. That's when the other groups are teleported there fully. So we've got our heroes all together and then our bad guys all together. And we've got pretty much Galactus and Doom just knocked the F out right now. So, you know, the heroes are all intact. They're all together. So what is the first thing they do? They start going after Magneto. Hawkeye is just kind of a jerk all throughout Secret Wars. He's kind of an antagonizer. He's just kind of a dick to everybody. He's like, Magneto, you're a bloodthirsty monster. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. And then the other mutants are like, you can't talk about mutants like that. You guys don't stick up for us ever. And, you know, he's here with us for a reason. He's with the good guys. So maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe you shouldn't be such jerks. And Magneto is just like, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm getting him. So he just kind of flies off on his own and blasts them for good measure. And it's just like, F off, losers. I'm my own thing. So Magneto takes off. So he goes off on his own. He's like, oh, I've got a plot. I've got a plan. I've got to figure out what's going on. And then the question comes to decide who's going to lead all these guys. And at this time, Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, is the leader of the Avengers. And she's like, you know, I'm not really up for the task of so many different people all at once. Captain America, you're a good tactician. You should lead us. And he hasn't really led the Avengers at this point. It's not really been his thing. He's always been helping, and, you know, he's been in his position of knowing what to do and being Captain America. And he's just like, you know what? If it's what you guys want, then I guess I'll do it. And Wolverine is just also kind of a dick through this. And they resolve it. Captain America and Wolverine, they come to an understanding throughout this thing. But that's not right now. Wolverine's like, yo, he's the least of us. He's just like super strong. He's not like, doesn't have a healing factor. He can't, you know, knock people out like Colossus or Rogue. He doesn't have a suit of armor. He's just a dude with a shield. And, you know, they're like, you know, he may just be a man with a shield, but he's got spirit. He's Captain America. He's going to lead us. So it's decided that Captain America is in charge on Battle World for now with these groups of heroes. And Thor is like, you know, he may be a man, but I would follow that man anywhere. Because Thor and Cap are bros. They've always been bros. They understand each other. And Thor's a god. So he's like, if a god's going to follow the captain, then we all probably should. So they all kind of fall in line. So at this point, Doom gets up. He's like, yo, I'm alive. And Galactus is unconscious. So let me take this as a sign to GTFO and regroup. So he kind of goes off and goes to find the other bad guys. And Galactus is just kind of laying there chilling for a while. And then, you know, Doom strolls back into these guys. And we've got Ultron down for the count. And, you know, so Doom strolls back in, and they're like, we've been waiting for you. There's a lot of weaponry here. We can really kick it to these heroes and all that stuff. And Doom is like, no. We're here for a reason. The Beyonder, when he sent them here, I forgot this part. He's like, whoever wins this battle slays their enemies, blah, blah, blah. I will grant their wildest desires. And they all kind of hear this on this head when they hear this in their head when they land on the planet. He's just kind of this omnipresent. He doesn't look like this in the original Secret Wars. I don't believe. He doesn't really have a physical form until Secret Wars 2. The Beyonder's just like, yeah, I'll give you whatever you want if you guys win. And Doom's like, no, we're not going to play his game. We could be immortal. We could be the most powerful beings in the universe. Because Doom, that's how Doom thinks. He's like, you know, my mom died. Her soul is with Mephisto because she traded her soul for power. And I need to help her. And that's why he has, you know, his drive for magic and all that stuff. And then when he does get the chance to help her, he just turns her skin into a magical something. And yeah, it's not great. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Secret Wars. So Doom's just like, you guys are fools. I'm not going to really mess with you right now because, you know, you're kind of just small picture, small potatoes. So Doom takes off. And Kang the Conqueror over here, it doesn't really take kindly to that. So he sees Doom take off in a vehicle, and he's got this giant laser cannon. And he's like, just for funsies, let me blow Doom sky high. So he blasts Doom rocket, and they see it go down. So Doom's just like, oh! And yeah, as far as they know, they took him out. But we all know that's not how Doom rolls. So the heroes see this happen. They see this explosion. They're like, all right, let's jump to it. Let's see what's going on. And they get to the ship and they see Doom crawling out of the wreckage. And Doom's just like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? How are you doing? I'm alive. They tried to kill me, but I'm alive. So at this point, they're battling Doom. Doom is battling them. And the bad guys over here are just like, now's our opportunity. So let's attack the heroes. So at this point, everyone's fighting. And that is where issue 1 ends, with the two groups finally meeting for their first conflict in the Secret War. And Doom sure is getting the crap kicked out of him right now. But that does change. On to issue 2. I also forgot that Lockheed the Dragon was with Colossus, and that's because Colossus is with Kitty and Lockheed is your dragon. So Lockheed's there too, and at this point, you know, all the heroes and the villains are fighting, so just pretend there's a huge skirmish going on. There's a tiny little dragon blasting fire at people, and people are getting the crap kicked out of them. A couple people go down, and at the end of the skirmish, there's not really casualties, but there's some people that are, you know, knocked the F out. So when we get back to the battle, and the heroes are kind of regrouping and trying to fight after getting their tails kicked pretty hard in the first half of the battle. And then the bad guys are bringing it to them. Enchantress is fighting She-Hulk. She's beat up most of the X-Men already. So She-Hulk goes in after an Enchantress, and they start fighting. And then, you know, they start to get the upper hand. And by the end of the battle, they've captured a few people. Kang, the Enchantress, and a couple members of the Wrecking Crew. And yeah, they take off. Storm's like, we got this. I'm the leader of the X-Men. I'm going to go do some scouting and see what's going on. And she flies off. So Doom's over by Galactus, and he's like, wow, he's still out. And no sooner does he say that, Galactus just kind of gets up. He doesn't really lift. He just kind of just stands up. No like movement or anything. Just kind of levitates up. And he's like, and then he just flies off. And Doom, because he can fly, he's got rocket jets, he's like flying along. He's like, hey dude, let's talk. I got some stuff to tell you. We should talk. And Galactus just kind of ignores him, and Doom is just like, oh, this is useless. None other than the indestructible, currently very dead Ultron. So Doom, while the others are gone, does his thing. He gets to work. And he gets Ultron running. So the heroes are proud of themselves. They've got a couple of captives. And, you know, they're not going to kill them because they're captives. They're heroes. They're not. So they've got 3 members of the Wrecking Crew. They have the Enchantress and they have Kang. And they're trekking along with their hostages. And they see a giant techno base, much bigger than the one, well, I don't know if it's bigger, but it looks bigger than the one that Doom has now, his Doom base. So they're like, cool, we got this place, it's got all this stuff here, it's got a place to hold these villains, so let's put them in a cage, and let's kind of chill out for now, because we need to keep watch. And Captain America's like, alright, I'm going to get some shut-eye, all y'all need to keep watch, because these guys could attack at any moment. We don't know what's going on, we're in a strange planet, and we all just need to stay on our toes and get some rest, but also be ready, wake me up at a certain time, and just, you know, stay on your guard. And then we check in with Magneto, who's kind of surveying his surroundings and looking about what's going on. He's like, this planet's crazy. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And he found his own base, and he set it up, and he's got a place to hang back and figure out what's going on. And he's just like, I don't know why they put me with the X-Men, but it's not really, Beyonder doesn't really know us, so I guess he just put all his mutants together, and that explains that. And then we get back to the bad guys, who just got their butts kicked after kind of winning at the first half. So they're just kind of tails between their legs, heading back to what they think is still their base. So they get there, and there's a lot less of them. There's Dr. Octopus, the lizard, who actually kind of disappeared. He kind of scurried off. No one knows where the lizard is. And then we have, you know, member of the Wrecking Crew, Absorbing Man, Molecule Man, and they show up, and Doom is here, and he's like, what's up, guys? This is my house now, and if you don't like it, here's my guard dog. His name is Ultron. So anybody has a problem with it, take it up with my guard dog, and then you can take it up with me. And they're all just kind of like, shit, man, we just can't win today. So they try to fight Doom, and he's just like, nah, smacks him around a little bit. And then he's like, remember, I got this guard dog, so just don't mess with me. It's not a good idea. So they're all just like, all right, I guess you're in charge, Doom. And everyone's kind of questioning where Galactus is, and he's just off on a mountaintop somewhere, just standing there. They're just like, what, huh? That's weird. Wonder what he's doing. And you can see him for miles because he's a big guy. He's just sitting up on the mountain in front of everybody, and they're just like, well, I guess we should keep an eye on him because Galactus really only ever does one stinking thing, and that's eat planets because he's kind of a hungry dude. So everyone starts talking in their own groups. Johnny and Spider-Man are talking. Ben and Reed are talking. She-Hulk and Janet are talking, and the X-Men are talking amongst themselves. Just like, it's kind of crazy, all this stuff that's going on. They don't know where Lockheed is. He kind of disappeared after the first battle. Colossus is like, has anyone seen the dragon? And they're like, nope, no dragon, bub. He'll be all right, or he won't, because we're probably not making all of it out of here alive. You can tell who said that. It was Wolverine. He's like, dragon, we're probably all gonna die, dude. So why are you worried about her dragon for? So they're all kind of just talking, and then lo and behold, who decides to show his head? But Magneto. He kind of crashes their party and just comes in wrecking house, and he's like, hey, I got the power of magnetism, so really anything you guys do, it's not really gonna affect me. So he's just like, oh, let me attack him, and Ben Grimm's like, what's going on here? No. And he goes to attack, and he turns back into a human. I don't have a human Ben Grimm, but he hasn't been able to transform back to a human before. So now he's just like, what's happening? Doom is going off, or Magneto's going off. He's like, I just wrapped up Spider-Man and all them. They're all gonna get messed up. And then Janet follows him, and she's like, no, dude, don't come after this. These are our friends, and you're just kind of being a jerk. And Magneto captures her. He puts her in a tiny metal, or a big metal sphere, and kind of just makes it so tight that she can't shrink or escape or get out of there. And they're just like, what? No way. So the heroes turn around, and then they see Galactus up there out in the distance. They have a view screen actually that brings it up to them. They've got all these gadgets and stuff that are popping up. I know this doesn't look like a techno place, but it's my new diorama, and it's big enough to fit everything. So they get all these gadgets and these view screens, and Galactus pops up like, all right, we need to keep an eye on him, but let's regroup, let's get some rest. Janet's gone. Magneto captured her, and that is where issue number 2 ends. So heroes had a win, and then they had another loss, and the villains just had a bunch of losses, and then Doom, of course, always comes out on top some way or another. So issue 3 opens with Magneto putting the riz on Janet. He's like, hey girl, I know I was a little rough earlier, but I just wanted to talk. I just want to see what's up. What's up, baby girl? How's it going? So the heroes are all checking for damage and all that stuff, and the X-Men have found their own little corner of the hero's base to have to themselves. So Spidey's crawling around. He's overhearing the X-Men. They're like, I don't trust these guys. we're mutants. They never stick up for us. We gotta stick up for ourselves. And Spider-Man just takes this completely out of context, and he's like, you guys, you're supposed to be good guys. I don't know what's going on, but I'm pretty pissed right now. So he starts fighting the X-Men. Not Spidey's brightest move. I don't know why he decided to start fighting the X-Men. Maybe he didn't have this is 1984 at this point, 1983, so maybe he didn't have as much experience working alongside them at this point. But he just kind of like one versus, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like 1 versus 7, all the X-Men except for Xavier, and they're just kind of like, yo, he's gonna tell the heroes and completely blow this out of proportion and make them think that we're bad guys or something. And Charles is like, I don't normally do this. This isn't something I condone. I would never ever really want to do this, but I'm going to erase Spider-Man's memories of this moment. So Spidey, he's like running around. He's like getting around the corner, and he runs into a couple heroes, and they're just like, what's up, dude? Why are you in such a hurry? And Spider-Man's like, you know what? I really don't know why. I couldn't tell you. Cut back to Magneto and Janet, and Doom gives Magneto a call. He's like, hey, I noticed that you're off on your own, and you're more of thematically and historically a bad guy, and would you like to join us? And Magneto's like, I'm not a bad guy. I just have the best interests of mutants at heart over anyone else, and no, I got my own thing going. I'm going to keep going my own way. And he hangs up on Doom, and Doom's like, all right, well, we're enemies. And Magneto's like, hey, it's an awfully big planet, and it's an awfully small space between the two of us. You want to make it even smaller? And he starts macking on Janet, and Janet's like, oh, sure, why not? It's been a while since me and Hank have been together, and Magneto's kind of hot for an older dude, so let me get some. So they smash. Keep in mind, this comic book series was meant to sell toys. Haven't really gotten into the history of the toy line, but I will at the end of this. But yeah, they Magneto and Janet Van Dyne are they're like, we're attractive people. Let's bump uglies together. So yeah, they do that. And then Doom has this base, and he's like, part of Denver got brought here with me, and I've got all this power, all these cool experiments and stuff I can do. So let me get these two regular ladies, and their names are, I forget what their names are. So Doom brings some new blood into the game. He makes Titania, who's I don't remember what her first name is, but McFerrin is her last name, and then Volcana, who I don't have a figure of because Marvel Legends hasn't made a figure of her. But Titania gets super ripped, super jacked, super tall, and Volcana is like living magma, so she's like a hot lady, literally. Sorry for the pun. But yeah, so Doom is like, we bolstered the troops, we got some powerhouses here now, we're doing a little better on our standings, so why don't you go meet the crew? So Titania, she made this outfit herself because she's actually a fashion designer. She's like, give me my outfit, I'm going to show people the business. So she walks around and she's like, who wants to fight me? What's up? You want to pound some fists into each other or what? And she goes up to the Absorbing Man. She's like, you look like you want to fight. And he's like, Toots, I'm not going to fight you. You're a lady. And she doesn't take that very well. So she's about to go lay the smackdown on the Absorbing Man. And the leader of the wrecking crew that's still there, and Absorbing Man and all these guys, they're just kind of being jerks to her and like, this lady. And then Volcana goes off and she finds Molecule Man, and she's like, hey, you're cute. We should date, essentially. She just kind of becomes his mother / his girlfriend, because she just treats this guy like a little innocent, just like a baby. Like she acts like he needs to be his hand held all the time, and he kind of does, because he's kind of just a loser, and Doom's told him as much. He's like, you have all this power, you don't do nothing with it. And Volcana's just like, oh, look at hey, let's date and I'll take care of you. And yeah, so Thor is Asgardian, and they have the Enchantress captured. So he goes down there and he's like, I just want to talk. I want to talk to her and see if maybe I can change her mind and make another ally for her. So he goes down, she's asleep in a chamber healing because she got the crap knocked out of her by She-Hulk. And she wakes up and Thor's like, can we talk? And she's like, yeah, I can make a portal. And he's like, okay, if you try anything, you know I'm the god of thunder, and you know what I'll do. And she's like, yeah, I won't try anything. So she opens up a portal and they go through and they talk. So they're kind of removed from the picture for right now. So it's morning, they've all rested and up, and Captain America overslept, and he's like, Hulk, why the heck didn't you wake me up? And Hulk at this point is not, Hulk smash, me smash you. He's got the intellect of Bruce Banner, so he doesn't quite have that Hulk edge. He's still super strong, he's still super resistant, but he doesn't have that the madder I get, the stronger I get. So he's kind of in his feelings, and he's like, ugh, you're kind of a jerk, Captain America. It's my bad, I didn't wake you up on time, sorry. And then he just kind of runs off. And then, of course, because he didn't wake anyone up, they get attacked by Doom and friends. So they just kind of head-on assault the heroes and blast a ship into the side of their building and open a hole and just kind of pour it in like, surprise, motherfuckers. I can cuss in this because, it's going to be a very long video. So yeah, here we go with the skirmish number 2. So all the heroes really kind of just get caught with their pants down. They start getting their butts kicked left and right. She-Hulk gets zapped by Volcana and she's kind of knocked out. Doc Ock sneaks up on Miss Marvel and gets the better of her, and the heroes just like literally they got caught with their pants down, and it's so, it's bad writing, but it's like, I don't know, it was the 80s, and it was a lot of the heroes and the stuff that they do, it's just kind of baffling, but it's to drive the story and mainly to sell toys. So that is the end of issue number 3, and that's why I'm going to stop. So issue 4 picks up. The Avengers and the heroes actually have been defeated, and of course Thor and Enchantress are off outside somewhere. So he doesn't know what's going on. And the villains rescued their captured comrades. So the villains regroup outside and they're kind of celebrating like, oh yeah, look what we did. So the Avengers are kind of crawling out of the rubble of their base and they're just like, oh man, that really sucked. And Molecule Man over here is like, hey, you see those mountains over there? I can just bring them down on top of them. So he kind of just does just that. He lifts up this mountain and, you know, they all try to stop it from falling on them, but it's to no avail, and Molecule Man just completely crushes them. Or so they think. They're like, oh yeah, we definitely took care of them this time. And Thor hears and sees all the ruckus and he's like, what's going on? And so they go to investigate and they come upon the villains. And Thor is facing down everybody. He's got Enchantress with him and he's like, you know, you could join me. Well, before he'd said, you could join me. All you need to do is turn good. And she's like, well, kiss me. And he didn't know that if he kissed her, she would have had him under his control. So he didn't do that. But they come to the bad guys. He's like, come on, make your choice. You can either help us or you can join them. And she sees all the bad guys and she's like, well, Thor, sorry, but I'm going to go with the numbers game here. And she goes back to her group of bad guys. So it's Thor facing down all of these. So Thor and all the villains start going at it. He's fighting left and right. And then Ultron comes out of nowhere and quote unquote blasts Thor. And all that they find is his winged helmet. So they think that Thor is gone and they get back. And Doom is like, so, you know, it's all good that we're all back together, but one of y'all tried to kill me. And he looks directly at Kang and Kang is like, hold on a second. And Ultron's like, you ain't got a second. And he just completely blasts Kang. And Kang's dead. He's gone. So Kang is the first casualty of the Secret War. I forgot to mention that at this point, the X-Men had already dipped out. So they're not underneath the rubble with the rest of the heroes. Spider-Man, Johnny Storm, all of them. They're off on their own in their jet. So they're flying around. Sorry, it is a lot to keep track of, so sometimes I miss some stuff. And Professor Xavier is flying this ship with his mind. They're looking around, and they see Magneto's base. So they make, well, where's Magneto? They make a surprise entrance and crash in on Magneto and Janet. And the reason they catch Magneto with his pants down is because he's busy using his powers to make a comb for Janet. Because, I don't know why, they make her kind of a ditzy line, like, kind of just like, I don't know, they make her worry about her makeup and her hair, and I guess that's a trait that she had earlier on in the comics, but he makes her a comb, and then the X-Men catch him off guard, so they crash in. So Xavier's like, hey, we're not here to fight. Wolverine wants beer. We want to know if you want to join forces. And Janet takes this as her chance. She's like, I never trusted you, Magneto. I was just putting on the riz to get your guard down. And so she attacks the X-Men. They're like, hey, come on, don't hurt him. We need him alive. So they start fighting her, and she's trying to zap Magneto, and then she escapes. So Magneto and the X-Men are all together at this point once again. And also at this point, Charles Xavier has figured out that he can walk again. So yeah, he's been walking around on his legs, getting used to doing that again. And he's trying to take a more active role in leading the X-Men. So there's a little bit of contention between leaderships, because Storm is the leader right now, and she's kind of mad, and Cyclops is kind of mad that Xavier's not really a soldier, and he's coming in and trying to take over. And he's just like, look, when this is all over, if we survive, you know, things are going to go back to normal if we get back home. So for now, just let me do my thing. I'm powerful. Magneto's powerful. Let's all work together and we'll figure it out. So right now, there's kind of tensions between all the teams. It's a little crazy. So we cut back to the Avengers. Everyone is trapped under this mountain. Hulk is holding it up, and he's really mad that this is all on him, and he's been taken for granted. Now they need his strength. And Reed Richards, being a smart guy, is all right. We need to upgrade Iron Man's armor, and he can blast our way out of here. So give me your web shooters, Spidey. He has a couple other, I forgot to move Rogue. He gets some arrows from Hawkeye, some trick arrows, and they upgrade Iron Man's armor. And lo and behold, he has this huge blast, and he blasts a hole through this mountain that's on top of them. So the heroes make their way out, and they meet up with Thor, who's like, oh man, I'm glad you guys are okay. I thought you were dead. And they're like, well, we didn't know where you were. We probably could have used your help. They don't really say that. But it's like, what were you doing, Thor? Why are you trying to mac while the Secret War is going on? A lot of like questionable decisions by the heroes here. But, you know, it is what it is. The heroes are back together. They're all alive. And they're regrouping. And all the while, Galactus is just sitting on his mountain. They're all like, huh, still not moving. It's something we're going to have to worry about at some point, because he is going to do something at some point. And then they send Captain Marvel, because she can travel at the speed of light, because she can change into light. They're like, go reconnaissance. So she goes off and goes exploring, and she finds a village, one of the other places transported here to Battle World from other planets, other worlds. So they go in there, and no one speaks the same language, but they do find a healer. And Johnny falls in love with her. There's kind of an implied thing that if she heals you, because Johnny got hurt, if she heals you, you have this like love connection with her. She kind of like just, I don't know, it's kind of weird. So Johnny's just kind of smitten with her, but he's also kind of a playboy, so it's not really like that serious to him. He like calls her a chippy at some point, and I guess that's kind of insulting, because Colossus takes offense to that way later down the line. There's a whole thing. But so the X-Men, the Avengers and the heroes are all there. They're getting healed. They're regrouping. Ben is like, hey, I'm still human. It could have been great if I was the Thing. And then as he's saying that, he turns back into the Thing. So there's kind of an implication there that he can do it whenever he wants. And then to cap all this off, they see Galactus raise his arms. So everyone's like, all right, it's time to panic, because Galactus is getting ready to devour this world. So that is where issue number 4 ends. So while this is happening, Johnny used this like dust thing to communicate with Sanji, which is the healer's name, and she's he uses it to, they use it to communicate, and essentially he just tells her through his mind in this dust, kind of in like a trippy sequence, about what's going on and how Battle World was created, where he came from and all that stuff. And the same thing happens for him. It tells her about where she's from and all that stuff. So they come to an understanding, and they kind of like understand each other. And at this point, everyone's like, okay, we got to do something, because Galactus is moving. The X-Men are mobilizing. They're like, we got to do something. Galactus is moving. And the bad guys are over at the base fighting amongst themselves. Molecule Man and Volcana are getting bullied. So he shows his power for once and kind of has a change in attitude that he is kind of a badass and he can do whatever he wants with his power. So they kind of mess with some of the wrecking crew and tell them, you know, don't mess with us. We're a power couple. I wish I had Volcana. They should have made her in Wave 1 instead of Beyonder. But it is what it is. So yeah, the bad guys are over there doing their thing. Everyone's rallying up as far as the heroes are concerned to try and see what they can do about Galactus over here. So Reed goes up to Galactus. He's trying to talk to him. He's trying to get his attention. And Galactus actually knocks him back. He's like, I'm doing something. Don't bother me. So Reed's like, hey, he knows we're here. He's communicating. So, well, he knows we're here. So let's attack. Let's bring this party to him. And Galactus actually sends down a big robot drone to fight them. So they're all fighting and stuff. Like, I don't know how to beat this. Johnny goes like extremely hot and just essentially melts its core and shuts it down. And at that very moment, the bad guys are like, hey, do mobilize this. We're all going to attack the bad guys while they're attacking the good guys while they're attacking Galactus. So all the bad guys jump in, and there's just this huge giant skirmish in front of Galactus with the heroes fighting the villains, and Doom like, all I need is a split second. I just need my distraction and I can go in there and do what I want to do. So and once again, another huge skirmish between the heroes and the villains, all set under the shadow of Galactus. So flanking in from behind the bad guys come all the X-Men. So we've got all three factions warring with each other. The X-Men kind of got the better of the bad guys and are fighting them, and then Colossus gets jumped by the wrecking crew, who are pretty strong and do have some powerful weapons. He gets the crap kicked out of him, and Cyclops is like, yo, get away from him. So he just blasts everyone in the vicinity of Colossus to try to get him free, and Colossus reverts back to his human form because he got busted up. In fact, Colossus is so beat up that the rest of the X-Men and Xavier decide to leave him behind, because his rationale is that the heroes will not leave Colossus behind, and they have a base close by, so they will help him. So Colossus is left with the heroes, and they do actually pick him up and take him back to the village as this is going on. Doom takes the opportunity while Galactus is distracted, who actually goes back to putting his hands down and standing there, to go onto his world ship, because he's trying to seek power. He's trying to seek Galactus's power. So he makes his way onto Doom's ship in his little dropship while the distraction of this huge battle is happening. And yeah, and the heroes, they do save Colossus. They take him back to the village. Sanji heals him, and keep in mind, this whole time, Colossus is like, oh, I miss Kitty. I brought her dragon here with me. Oh, he got brought here with me. And I don't know where he is, and I'm really sad. I missed my girlfriend. And as soon as Sanji heals him, he kind of just forgets about Kitty and falls in love with her. So that's where you're like, oh, her powers of healing also make you fall in love with her. So he's just kind of a dog. He's like, all right, forget Kitty Pryde. I got this new outer space babe. So he just kind of falls in love with her, and he knows it's not reciprocated because he starts putting together that her and Johnny are quote unquote dating, and he gets kind of jealous and just kind of keeps himself in his feelings, like unrequited love kind of stuff. And this issue ends with Doom on Galactus's world ship, kind of looking around for information and just roaming the halls of this giant ship that's actually almost like a planet because it's bigger than Galactus, so it's pretty big. And that brings us to the beginning of issue 6, which I would say is a halfway point for Secret Wars, considering it has 12 issues. So once we get through issue 6, we will be halfway there with all of our teams set. X-Men are off on their own. Heroes are in the village recuperating. Villains are at Doom base, and Doom is on the world ship with Galactus. So yeah, that is where issue 6 starts. So issue number 6 starts with Janet. She's flying after escaping Magneto's lair in a ship that she found, and she doesn't really know how to fly it, so she kind of just crashes into some swampy looking terrain down here. And so she's looking around. There's some bugs attacking her, so she shrinks and flies away and zaps those, and she ends up in a swampy area. And no one's seen the lizard up until this point, but apparently the lizard has taken up residence in the swamp, and he's just chilling on Battle World, just being king of a swamp and being a giant lizard guy. And then we cut back to Doom on Galactus's world ship, and he runs into an old familiar face that no one has seen for a long time because everyone thought he was dead. It is Ulysses Claw. So Doom's like, hey, how'd you get here? And he's like, well, you know, I'm made of pure sound, and Dazzler, she absorbs sound and turns it into energy, and she blasted Galactus with me after she absorbed me, and I ended up here in his ship. And yeah, I'm kind of crazy, so I kind of talk like and just like talk in rhymes and repeat myself. So Doom's like, all right, well, you're kind of useful. We need to put a fly in Galactus' soup. We need to find a way to harness all his power, and you could be useful to me considering you are made of sound. So I'm going to send you back down to Doom base, and you are going to have a message for me. You are going to tell them what I want you to tell them. So Doom sends Claw back down to the base, and they're like, what the heck? And so Doom sends Ulysses Claw down, and he talks to Ultron. Well, first of all, he's like, hey, I'm here to spread the word of Doom. And he's like, but first of all, I need to say the magic words so Ultron knows to enforce what I say. And he says, Ukasa Doom Rex. And Titania's like, who's this guy? We don't need to listen to him. So she tries to attack him, and Ultron jumps in and says, hey, you attack him, you're attacking Doom. This guy's in charge because he said the secret code word. So everyone's like, all right, he killed Kang. I guess we should, again, fall in line, unfortunately. Galactus has started building his world-eating machine at this point, and he kind of hesitates. He's like, what's going on up there? He looks up at his homeworld, and he's like, there's something up there that shouldn't be there. And yeah, then we jump back to Janet and the lizard. So Janet's like, hey, lizard, come over here. What's going on? He's like, get out of my swamp. This is my swamp. And then she's like, okay, it's your swamp, but you look like you're hurt. And so she helps him. He is hurt, so she heals him. It's from the first battle, and he escaped. He went off here. And yeah, she helps the lizard, and they kind of become a little friendly with each other. She doesn't put the riz on him. I don't mean that, but he's like, oh, you saved me, so we're friends now. So now we cut back to the X-Men, and they've landed their ship, and they're kind of like regrouping and repairing and resting. And Charles is like, man, I wish I brought my wheelchair because I'm kind of wiped, but I gotta keep a strong face. Well, let me try to get some information. So he starts trying to glean information. He's using his psychic powers to like scan the minds all across the planet, and he happens upon the people in Doom Base. So he figures out their plan until he gets to Enchantress. And she figures out what he's doing, and she kind of just expels his mind from Doom Base. She's like, your power is a joke. You aren't nothing compared to the power of Asgard. And really, she doesn't know this, and other people don't know this at this point, but I'm pretty sure this enchantress is a normal human who was given her powers by Loki, and she just thinks that she's the enchantress. I could be wrong if that's the same enchantress at this point. But yeah, she kind of kicks Charles out, and he's like, well, I know what's going on. Doom is dispatching a force to a volcano on the other side of the planet, so we gotta figure out what's going on there. So Charles dispatches the X-Men, and Storm, who, like I said, is the leader at this point, she gets pretty mad. So while the other ones run off, she goes to Charles, and she's like, look, what's up? I thought I was the leader. And he's like, things are rough, things are different right now. I will give you power back if we make it out of this, but you know, we can't really do this and be shattered. We have to work together. And so he's like, you know, we just got to work together, Storm. We can't be arguing. We got to do this together. And she kind of sulks off and is like, all right, whatever. And then we cut back to Colossus, who has been healed and is kind of having fever dreams about Shari. Is that her name? I don't remember if I said it right. But he's like, oh, I don't even care about Kitty anymore. It's all about this girl now. And she comes in and she heals him again. And then Colossus is like, oh, I of course, damn, I don't know. Colossus is like, I don't speak English and I don't speak your language, so, you know, we can't really communicate. I wish I could tell you how I feel. And right at that moment, Johnny Storm comes in and scoops her up, and Colossus is like, oh, man. And the rest of the heroes are regrouping, talking about battle strategies, how they're going to attack Galactus, what they need to do next. Spidey and Hawkeye hanging out. He's kind of joking him about making more arrows, and Hawkeye's like, well, yeah, I mean, we took all my arrows and gave them to Iron Man to make his armor better, and you don't have any web shooters. He's like, yeah, it kind of sucks. Hulk is like, I just want to smash everything. And Cap's like, we will, but we need to make a plan about this. And this whole time, Iron Man being Rhodey, which no one knows. Did I mention that? I don't remember if I mentioned that, but it's Rhodey in there, and he's been macking on Captain Marvel all the time, and she's like, you know, how about you don't call me babe and you call me Captain Marvel and show some respect to your superheroes. And he's like, dang, sorry. People are so sensitive. Rhodey's just kind of a womanizer in this. So a lot of the heroes are just kind of jerks. And then he's like, what's wrong with that woman? And what's wrong with me? I don't know what, a lot's been happening. He's like trying to chalk it up to like, my game is off. And it's like, no, dude, you're just being a dick. It's not the time. So by this point, Doom's group of bad guys have gotten to their volcanic crater. And the X-Men are there to meet them. Like, what the heck? So they get kind of caught by surprise while they're trying to set up their temporary makeshift base there. So Wolverine, being the ever-reckless guy that he is, he's like, you know, I know we're supposed to be doing reconnaissance and all that, but we should take him head on. Cyclops is like, we don't really have the power for that. And Wolverine is like, screw it. So he goes in head first, gets smashed by a boulder. Everyone starts to skirmish. The Molecule Man starts to get powered up, and they're like, you need to stop him. So Wolverine goes in and slashes him right across the gut, so he's kind of bleeding out. So the villains are like, all right, let's get out of here. This was kind of a wash. So they grab Molecule Man, they run off, and the X-Men, the ones that are there, kind of feel like they won the day, but they're also like, dang, Wolverine, you're not supposed to kill anybody. We're the good guys. It's like, you know, sometimes you just gotta claw somebody. Like I said, the heroes are kind of dicks in the 80s. So Cyclops sees that the volcano has been sealed, and he's like, y'all need to stand back. Rogue and Cyclops, or Rogue and Wolverine, get out of the way, because this is going to be a big blast. So he uses his optic blast to blast that seal on the volcano, and it erupts, and they fly off. Like, whatever Doom was trying to do, we're not going to let him do that. Cut back to Janet and the Lizard at the swamp, and they're just chilling, minding their own business. And the wrecking crew shows up in a giant tank, and they just blast a hole through Janet, and she's literally, you can't survive that. She's dead at that point. She doesn't have any vitals. She's got a giant hole through her. And Lizard's like, why'd you kill Lady? Why'd you do that? She was my friend. Why'd you do that? It's like, screw it. Just throw a net on them both. So they capture them both. Janet's pretty much, well, she's not dead at this point, but it's pretty dang close to her being dead. She's got a giant hole in her torso. So they grab them and they start heading back to Doom Base. So the heroes have been watching from the foot of Galactus' mountain in the village. They've been watching him slowly build his machine, and they're like, it's pretty much done at this point. We got to be ready, because pretty soon this is going to be complete, and we're going to have much bigger problems on our hands than anything else, because he is going to start eating this planet. And the next thing you know, the heroes see someone walking up to the village, kind of lurking in the shadows, and they have no idea who it is. And that is where issue number 6 ends. So this lady walks up to the heroes and she's like, hey, I'm Spider-Woman. And they're like, yo, where'd you come from? Well, what's going on here? And she's like, well, a whole suburb of Denver got transferred here, and that's where I'm from. I have these powers, and yeah, I wear this black and white spider suit, so yeah, you can call me Spider-Woman. And everyone's like, all right, well, we'll trust you for now. We need all the help we can get. I guess welcome to the crew. I'm like, what can you do? She's like, well, I'm super strong. I can lift up this boulder, and I also got some psionic powers, so that's pretty cool. And Spidey's like, dang, she tossed that boulder like it was nothing. I wonder if she sticks to walls. And I wonder if I can sue for copyright infringement. Man, I'd make so much money if I had a patent. And Cap's a little hesitant. He's like, you know, it's one thing to be strong, but this is dangerous business. And she's like, trust me, I want to help Captain America. I know it's dangerous. And next thing you know, the wrecking crew rolls up, and they're in their giant tank, and they just toss Janet right in front of everybody. Like, here you go, we brought this for you. And everyone runs over like, what the heck? Janet, what's going on? So She-Hulk's the first one to catch her. She's there when they throw her out. She's like, what, Janet? Oh, I'm so mad. I'm hot. We need to go after them. And so they bring her into the healer, and Saji's like, she tries, and then she just puts her head down and she walks away. And they're like, what does that mean? What's going on? Why aren't you healing her? So the heroes put 2 and 2 together, and they know that Janet is dead. And She-Hulk's like, they're not going to get away with this. I am about to go wreck some shop here. I'm so mad. And Cap's like, no, we need to keep cool heads here. We need to regroup. We need to stay focused. We need to not let our tempers get ahead of us and mess this up. We need to stay focused and together. And then She-Hulk kind of sulks off on her own. She's like, all right, well, we'll see about that. So the X-Men get in contact with Charles psychically. They're like, we're coming heading back. He's like, no, negative. You need to follow Doom's task force. Magneto, Storm, and I, and Nightcrawler, we are heading your way. We're boarding the second craft, and we're coming to you. So they're like, all right, we're going to change course. We're going to follow Doom Squad back to Doom Base. So Titania, Absorbing Man, and Doc Ock are on the ship with Molecule Man. They're like, is he okay? No, he's out cold. He is not doing great. So that's where they're at with that. And they get back to Doom Base, and Volcana runs into Chantress. She's like, hey, girl, you know how you're magical and stuff? You can heal Molecule Man, right? You can bring him back to life. You can make sure he's okay. So Volcana hears that Molecule Man is hurt, and she's like, all right, Enchantress, I need to get to him. I need you to transport me right now. And she's like, all right, I mean, I don't know why. It's just immortal, but you're going to owe me one. She's like, all right, fine. So Volcana ends up on the ship with Titania and Molecule Man and Doc Ock and Absorbing Man, and she's like, oh no, my poor Snooki, he's hurt, blah blah blah, because she just babies him. And Doc Ock is like, whatever is going on back there, you need to be ready, because we're being followed and we're under attack. So next thing you know, they get blasted from both sides by both X-Men ships that are coming in. So they jump out with grab Molecule Man, and they're under attack from all the X-Men. So immediately there's a battle between the X-Men and this group of bad guys. So Absorbing Man turns into rock. Magneto starts throwing rocks and steel and all this kind of stuff. Nightcrawler and Cyclops and Rogue attack Titania because she's a heavy hitter. And next thing you know, Wolverine comes in and he chops off Absorbing Man's arm, which he's completely stoned at this point, with one of his claws. And he's like, oh crap, we got to get out of here. They're really messing us up. So Volcana kind of just like gets a cover for them to get away on. And I think, how do they get away? I think they steal one of the X-Men ship, and they take off in that. So the X-Men are like, dang, we blew it. Let's regroup. Let's get out of here. A lot of regrouping going on. But they go back to their ship. And then we cut back to Doom up on Galactus' homeworld. And he's doing his thing, looking for information, what he needs. And Galactus is still looking for the fly in the ointment. And finally, he gets a trace on Doom, and he finds him, and he expels him from his planet. So Doom gets blasted back to Battleworld. And then he goes to focus on the giant volcano that is erupting on the side of the planet, because that'll disrupt his plans of devouring. Everyone gets back to Doom Base. They put Molecule Man in the infirmary. Absorbing Man is kind of freaking out. He's like, I don't know how to put my arm back on. I don't know. I gotta try this. If I stay stoned, I can't eat. I can't sleep. So he just holds his stone arm up to his other stone shoulder, and he turns back to human, and it kind of just heals itself. It hurts a lot, but he's like, dang, I didn't know I could do that. So he's kind of OP. The wrecking crew gets back, and Lizard is crazy. He's like, wow, you killed Lady, you killed Lady. So they throw him in their dungeon. They're like, we don't want to deal with you right now, Lizard, because he's just nuts. He's not really helping anyone. So they throw him in their dungeon. And then Claw's like, oh, Lizard, that's interesting. And then we cut to Bulldozer, who is going back to his room, and he sees a giant hole. And he's like, uh-oh. And then we see She-Hulk is in there, and she's like, oh, I was right, motherfucker. So She-Hulk is in here wrecking house. She's fighting the wrecking crew. She's beating everyone up. And then Titania walks in, and we get our first real showdown between Titania and She-Hulk. And they just start slugging it out, hitting each other with giant pieces of metal. And then She-Hulk starts to kind of lose the upper hand. And also at this point, Doom kind of drags himself back into Doom Base after being zapped all the way back to the planet. And he sees So Enchantress sees Doom walking back into the base all tattered and beat up. And she's like, hey, so what's the deal? We're risking our lives for your mortal butt, and I don't think you have a plan. And he's just like, I don't care. And he just walks right past her and just goes to bed. And while this is happening, the remaining bad guys, the numbers game is finally catching up with She-Hulk, and her rage is like not enough to keep up with it. And they beat the crap out of She-Hulk. So she's down. And then Hulk and Hawkeye walk up to Cap, and they're like, hey dude, look, we gonna go and save Jen or what? And Cap's like, no, we have to stay here and watch Galactus. And at that point, he gets a telepathic message from Charles Xavier saying, hey, we're coming to you, we're gonna watch Galactus. We just hit the bad guys pretty hard, so you should hit them now. And Cap is like, alright, this is good timing. Let's rally up. Let's get this show on the road. Everyone come with me. We're going to attack the bad guys. And while that's happening, Colossus sees Saji kind of stagger out of Janet's her hut where her body is. They're going to bury her the next day over in the body. And he sees Saji. She's weak. He catches her. She falls over. She looks almost dead. And he's like, what's going on? And that's where issue number 7 ends. And issue number 8 probably has the most iconic cover of all, because this is the issue when Spider-Man gets his symbiote. So the heroes are rallied. They're going to attack. She-Hulk is down and in the grasp of the bad guys, and the X-Men are there for backup to watch Galactus. So issue number 8 opens with the heroes going towards Doom Base. They bust in while She-Hulk is still getting the crap beaten out of her. Everyone is like, oh no, here we go. So another battle ensues. Being an absorbing matter battling, he accidentally turns back into Ben Grimm. One of the wrecking crew, I forget what his name is I don't remember the name specifically, but he's like, oh, what are you gonna do, Hawkeye? And Hawkeye literally shoots him with an arrow, and the dude's like, oh, dude, you shot me. That kind of hurts. So he's like literally shot in near the heart, actually, in the shoulder. And then Enchantress is trying to put the moves on Hulk to enchant her, and everyone's just fighting, and things are going crazy. Cap knocks out Enchantress. Spider-Man's fighting Titania. The heroes run into Molecule Man and Volcana, and she starts blasting at them. The Lizard is like, oh, Lizard and Claw are like buddying up together, and they're like, intruders, we gotta get them. And Hawkeye's just like, we'll have to outwit them. So everyone's fighting, everyone's tussling, and Volcana's blasting them, trying to get into there to Molecule Man. Volcana almost toasts Iron Man, and Reed pulls him out of the way until Captain Marvel goes up to Molecule Man and is like, I'm gonna snap his neck, or she basically threatens him, and she's like, he's hurt, don't hurt him, I'll stop. Our boy Spidey, he knocks Titania the F out. He throws her out of the building, and she does not get back up from that. So basically, the bad guys are getting some comeuppance. Ultron starts blasting everybody, because he's of course there, and he's adamantium, so they don't know what to do there. But Johnny's like, I got this. I already heated up one guy once. I could do it again. I can go super, super hot. So he basically goes hot enough that he can't melt the adamantium, but whatever is inside of Ultron that's not adamantium, he seemed to have got. So Ultron just kind of gets out of commission again. And then Captain America stumbles in on Doom, who's just kind of laying there. And Doom's like, I'm not really going to do anything. I'm just going to kind of be catatonic and not do anything. So Cap's like, he's not really a threat. Oh, he should have taken him. But, you know, he just leaves him there, and they go rescue She-Hulk, and they capture the bad guys and put them in healing tanks, the ones that they knocked out. And yeah, the good guys have the upper hand. So the heroes right now, they're in Doom Base. They've won. They have all this cool stuff. Colossus is back at the village, actually, with Saji, and he actually goes into her, tent and does the mind mold thing on his own that she did with Johnny. And right after that, Janet walks out of her little hut, so we know that she's alive, and Colossus knows that Saji put all of her life force into Janet, almost all of it, to heal her. So Janet's alive, she's no longer dead, and yeah. So we cut back to the heroes at Doom Base, where Thor and Hulk are like, hey, Spider-Man, look, I got my costume fixed up. Thor, because he lost his helmet and his cape and all that stuff. It's like, there's a machine in there that'll just make your costume. And Hulk's like, I don't really need it, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And Spidey's like, well, yeah, my costume is pretty tattered and beat up from these last couple of battles, so I could use a new suit. So Spider-Man, with his luck, he goes into the room, and he goes into the wrong machine. But he doesn't know it's the wrong machine because it gives him a really cool suit, and we all know what that suit is. Spidey finally gets the symbiote suit, and he also has webs back. He finds that this thing just makes webs whatever, and however he wants. He can shoot them without needing web shooters, and it can also change its shape into his regular clothes. But for now, he's like, I don't know why it picked this black and white design, but I guess it saw Spider-Woman's costume, and in my mind, I must have thought it was cool. But we all know that Venom is a black symbiote, and black and white are his colors, so I guess he saw that design and stuck with it, and that's how we got the black suit. So Spider-Man's got a new suit, Thor's got, the heroes are looking up, Janet's alive, and yeah, they're doing pretty well.
And the X-Men, meanwhile, are keeping track of Galactus, and lo and behold, dude starts to move again. So he calls Captain America. He's like, hey, I promised you we'd let you know what's going on. Galactus is moving, so we all need to, rally up and try to stop this big old dude. And that is the start of issue number 9. So we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 issues left of Secret Wars. So what will happen next? Well, you're going to find out right away, because we're going to start on issue 9. So issue 9 starts with the X-Men fighting Galactus while they're assaulting him and doing their best to try and stop him from starting his world-eating machine. The Avengers are flying towards the battle. They are fighting amongst themselves, not fighting, but their tensions are high. Everyone's like, what are we gonna do? What's gonna happen when we do this? And they get towards the battlefield, and Captain America's like, heads up, and they get blasted out of the sky. So the heroes are down at the base of the mountain, and they have to jump out and start attacking. And then this giant wave of force energy just comes at the heroes and the X-Men and everyone else, and just starts blasting them back. So they can't even approach Galactus at this point. And so while this is going on, they're all like, what do we do? And then all of a sudden, Reed just starts to disappear. He starts to vanish. Like, what? Where's Reed going? So both Reed and then Galactus disappear. And they're like, what do we do now, Cap? And he's just like, I don't know, but I'm open to suggestions. And then we cut to Galactus's ship, and he is talking to Reed. He has something to talk to him about. And Reed's like, well, first, can you show me my family? And he sees that Sue has not had the baby yet. Franklin's there with her, and he's like, okay, they're fine, so they're good. And Galactus is like, all right, now listen to me, and we need to talk. So we cut back to Doom in Doom Base, where he's been captured but catatonic, so he's just kind of sitting in a cell, and then he snaps out of it. And he's like, they didn't think to take my armor off because it's always booby-trapped. But, I got ways out here. So he blasts his door off, and Doom just kind of stomps out. And he's like, they're like, come on, let us out, dude, come on. And he's like, I have no use for any of y'all suck. So he just goes and leaves them all behind and goes to get Claw. And Claw's like, what's up, Doom? La 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 la. My dude, we're friends, we're cool, right? And he's like, yeah, I got a plan, so I need you, and we are going somewhere. So Claw's like, cool. And then we cut back to the battle. So the X-Men had kind of gotten a rock thrown at them, so they're kind of under some rubble, and Colossus runs up, and he's trying to dig them out. And finally, he sees them, and they're like, I thought you were buried. And they're like, nah, we're good. So Colossus is back with the rest of the X-Men, and then they all fall down. But so at this point, all the heroes regroup at the village. She-Hulk is healing at the base that they've captured So she's okay, and all the X-Men and the Avengers and other heroes are together. And Saji comes running out, and Colossus is like, "You're okay!" And then she runs right past him and goes to Johnny. And Johnny's like, "I don't got time for you, girl. I'm worried about Reed." So kind of just a crappy situation for all parties involved. And then all of a sudden, Reed pops back up out of nowhere. So they're like, "What's the tea, Reed?" And he's like, "Well, it appears that much like Galactus, I am a force of life as much as he is a force of death in this universe. And my role is really unimportant, undefined as of right now." So kind of just ego boosting himself. And they're like, "So what are we going to do? Right now, we're not going to do anything. Galactus is going to go back up there and we're not going to do anything." And they're like, "Well, why not?" And he's just like, "Well, that's just where we're at right now." And, Captain America and Xavier shake hands, like, "Thanks for the backup." They're like, "Yeah, no problem." And like, "Well, we can't really do nothing, Reed. So I think if the X-Men join us and we do this, we can probably take them together." And Reed's like, "All right, well, if that's what we're going to do, then that's what we're going to do. So let's go and attack Galactus." So the heroes all mount an assault, and they're all going towards Galactus. And we cut back to Doom. And Doom has Claw on a lab table, and he's just dissecting him because he's made out of sound. Claw doesn't feel it. He's like, "It kind of tickles. I don't really feel it." And Doom is going to use Claw to make something. So we cut back to Galactus and the heroes. They're all fighting the big dog. He's zapping Hulk. He's just not really a force that can be stopped by physical means so much. But Torch runs in for the save and blasts him with a giant fire blast. So fortunately, Hulk doesn't get killed. And then Reed comes up behind Cap on the flank, and he's like, "I thought you weren't going to fight, Reed." And he's like, "Yeah, but the thing that I decided most and that I really, really know is that I want to see my baby be born. So if we don't stop Galactus, if we don't fight, that's not going to happen. So this is what we got to do." And the heroes are like, "If we stop the machine, then we'll stop him." And Reed's like, No, stop him. Don't let him get away. Because if he gets away, then it really is over for us. And like, it'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, Galactus flies away off to his world ship. And then Reed is like, "Well, now he's gonna just use the power from that because the machine's messed up. He's just gonna devour his own world, and then he's gonna devour this planet. So now we're really screwed." And while Galactus is doing this, he's building his power. He's dissolving his world planet. Doom is like, "Now is when I need to strike." So as Galactus is about to blast the planet, Doom turns on his machine that he made with Claw, and he redirects all of that power into himself. And that is where issue number 10 begins. So we have 2 issues left, and Doom has just gained the power cosmic. So at the start of issue 10, the heroes aren't quite sure what's going on. They see this blinding light, and they're like, "Oh, don't look at it. It's going to kill us." And they're like, "We're all going to die anyway." So they're like, "Huh? Nothing happened." And they look up, and they see the power from Galactus's homeworld be directed towards the base. So they're like, "All right, let's head towards there and see what's going on." But they send Captain Marvel ahead to scout because she's fast as she can be pure light. So she goes ahead, and Xavier links her mind with Reed so that she can tell them what she sees and what is happening. So she flies off at light speed and to Doom base. So she is spying on Doom right now, and she is seeing what's happening and seeing that Doom has gained all this power. He's essentially omniscient, and he's like, "I can see all, I can feel all, and I can see that there's a spy here." So they lose their link to Captain Marvel. They don't know what happened to her. So the heroes are trying to figure out a way, and like, "Well, all our ships are busted." And Magneto's like, "Don't worry about that, just get on." So he uses his magnetic powers to levitate the entire ship. And then Captain America and Wolverine get in a spat over whether or not he cares about mutants. And Captain America's like, "I have friends that are people. All my best friends are people." And he had just said that mutants are people. And he's like, "Magneto's helping us. I don't see him as such a bad guy. Maybe he's turned a new leaf." So then Captain America and Wolverine, after almost getting into a fight, come to this understanding that they're both on the same side and they are working together. So now the heroes are really starting to get a group of things. They all know that they're all on the same page, and they're all here to help each other and hopefully get home. So Doom is at Doom base. The only thing left is Claw's head, because he's used his whole body to make this machine, and he makes himself a shiny new set of armor.
So this armor is techy, it's magic-y, it's kind of like an Iron Man suit, and Doom is looking pretty good in his new digs. And then he teleports off because he's about to try and confront the Beyonder. So the Avengers crash in, they see that Doom is gone and all the captives are still here and She-Hulk is still here, and they find out what happened in Captain Marvel. She's been frozen in kind of a hologram-like form in her light form, so she can't move. So they're just kind of like, huh, where did Doom go? And then they find Claw's head and they're like, what's going on, Claw? Where's Doom? And before he really reveals anything, kaboom! There's another big explosion. And then Claw says, oh, Doom just went to fight the Beyonder. He'll be right back. No problem. Like, is he crazy? The Beyonder? That dude is just like light and he's not even a physical form. So the whole base is shaking. The heroes start running around trying to bring people out. They grab She-Hulk. Reed finds Galactus on the view screen and they lock a tractor beam on him to pull him in because Galactus is essential. He needs to be around. He cannot die here. So they start pulling him in towards the base. There's another big explosion rocking the place. So there's debris falling everywhere. And then we cut to the battle between the Beyonder and Doom. And Doom is like powerful. He's got the power cosmic. He's got all of Galactus's power, his own magics and powers at his disposal, but it's not quite enough to defeat the Beyonder, so he disappears for a second and he appears in front of the heroes. So Doom shows up and he makes a speech. He's like, hey, I'm powerful beyond friends and foes now. We just have one common enemy, which is the Beyonder, and I can make all your wildest dreams and desires come true, just like he promised. All I need is your help. Just touch my hand and I'll take your power and I'll destroy him, and together we will be rid of his nuisance and all that stuff and blah blah blah. You know how Doom is. And for a second Magneto looks like he's gonna do it, and then some of the Avengers start attacking and they're like, hey, he stopped himself, leave him alone. And Doom's just like, alright, so none of y'all want this? Alright, I'm gonna go fight him. So he disappears again and they're like, dude, why'd you start trying to attack Magneto? I don't know, it was Hawkeye, I'm pretty sure. Hawkeye's a dick. So Doom disappears and he goes back to fight the Beyonder. And once again, it's not going well. Doom is getting battered. The Beyonder is scanning every facet of his existence, like seeing how he became who he is, why he's so determined, how his mom sold her soul and she's trapped with Mephisto and Doom tried to save her and then sold her out and all this other stuff, and just how Doom is not a very good person, but he is very, very driven. So Beyonder is intrigued by this, so intrigued in fact, he starts picking Doom apart piece by piece. He starts unpeeling one side of his body, dissecting him, and just Doom is kind of almost dead at this point. The heroes, meanwhile, are trying to stop the place from coming down on everyone. Captain America goes down to save the villains, and Wolverine's like, huh, I didn't expect you to be the one to come down here, so that's pretty impressive. So all the heroes and the villains escape together, unscathed, and then at this point they see a giant light in the sky. And in the sky they see a giant Dr. Doom. And Captain America's like, alright, stand your ground, guys. Let's be ready for this. And Doom shrinks down to normal size and he takes off his face mask and he says, there's no need for us to fight anymore. The Beyonder no longer exists and there are no more enemies. There is just Doom. And that is where issue 11 begins. So Doom is talking to the heroes and they're like, alright, we'll hear you out because I guess we got no choice. And he's like, yeah, I'm Doom. You know, I obviously came out on top. I took all the Beyonder's power. So we don't need to fight. There's really no need for it. Xavier scans his brain. He can't really read it, but he's like, I don't detect any malice. And I guess we should listen to him. And Spidey's like, yeah, my Spidey sense isn't tingling. So they listen to Doom. And the villains, meanwhile, are kind of skulking off, like seeing what's going on. Like, why is Doom glowing like that? What happened? And why is he talking all buddy with those heroes? And Doom, or Dr. Octopus is like, well, I'll tear him from limb. And Enchantress is like, you won't, because you a pussy, Doc. You couldn't even if you tried. We don't know what's going on. Plus, he's got all that backup now. So maybe don't talk a big talk if you're not going to do anything about it. Like, you know, Captain America let us out. Maybe they forgot we should scram while we have the chance. We don't really have much of a chance against Doom and all of them anyway. So Molecule Man is seeing all this and he's kind of salty and he's like, you know what? I'm going to kill you, Doom. You hear me? I'm gonna kill you. I'm the Molecule Man, and I'm really mad, and you made me angry, so I am going to kill you. So Molecule Man blasts the heroes and seals them away from Doom with a bunch of crust from the planet, and he gets up in Doom's face. Man's like, you're a traitor. You think I won't kill you? I'm super powerful. And Doom's like, I know you are. Let me show you how powerful you are. And Doom touches his head and essentially shows him what he's capable of. He says, behold, the foundation of eternity, the intertwining of energies, which is the basis of all that it is. All things now are known unto Doom, and the secrets of the universe have been laid bare to me. I give this as a gift, this insight into the intricate simplicity of existence. Inside you is great power. Know you this, of all the great and mighty in the universe, you are the mightiest, save for Doom. So Doom essentially tells him he has the power to control and unlock every single molecule, and he is essentially the most powerful being besides him, so he should know that and be happy about that. And Owen Reese is like, yo, my mind's open. I know exactly what I can do now. So he goes back to his friends and he's like, I'm gonna take care of us now. I can lead us. And like, you, and then Absorbed Man's like, you saw what he did. Shut up. Just do what he says. And it's like, yep, I'm gonna take care of us. I know what to do. So he takes them off. He makes a ship and they've got food and shelter, so they're gone for now. And then we get back to the heroes, who are regrouping from that attack from Molecule Man. So they get up and they get out. I'm like, all right, we got to get out of here now. We got to regroup. So they go back to Doom Base and they prepare for what's next. They don't know what to do. So they're like, all right, let's figure out what happened. So we got transported here. Doom took Galactus's power. Doom took Beyonder's power. And now he's omnipotent. And that's really scary. And like, we don't know where the bad guys are. They went off on their own with Molecule Man, who's also super powerful and super scary. So what do we do now? So the bad guys regroup in a suburb of Denver, Colorado, which has been ripped out of Earth and sent to Battle World. So like, oh, what do we do now? I don't know. Let's figure it out. And there's a bunch of normal people here that are terrified and have no clue what's going on. So they just go into someone's house and essentially take it over. So what Molecule Man does is he uses his power to section off this section of Denver, Colorado. He puts a bubble around it and it takes off and it starts to go back to Earth. And in the middle of the night, Colossus takes one of the sled machines off to go and find Sanji because he's a smitten little puppy, which is just so crazy and such a weird storyline to give him. I guess they wanted to find something for him to do. And while Colossus is leaving, a little blast of radiation comes through the window and zaps the Hulk. And Spider-Woman sees him as he walks into the room and she's like, what's going on? And he doesn't talk to her. He doesn't say anything. He just keeps going. She makes a psionic web that holds him. He's technically sleepwalking and it holds him, but he's really strong. And the next thing you know, the thing jumps from him to her. So Spider-Woman is possessed. She creeps into the laboratory of Doom Base and she's looking for Claw's head. And next thing you know, a bright blast of light wakes her up and all the heroes run in and they're like, what's happening? And they're like, did he say anything? And she's like, no, but he left that, and there's something written on the wall. It says, you are summoned to the Tower of Doom at dusk tomorrow. So like, what tower is he talking about? And Doom has constructed this giant golden obelisk-like tower in the middle of Battle World. And we cut to Doom at Doom Base, and he's talking with Claw, and Claw's like, you've done a lot, dude. Are you tired? And like, Doom's like, yeah, I'm tired, but I can't sleep. I just need to rest for a minute. Just keep watch. I don't sleep. I don't need to sleep. I just need some rest. So Claw's like, yeah, I'll keep watch. And then we cut to Colossus creep walking into Sanji's hut in the middle of the night with some flowers. And he's like, here you go. And she like sees him for the first time. She's like, oh, this dude's here too. And 18 hours later, when they're all heading for Doom Base, Nightcrawler's looking for Colossus. And he asked Wolverine if he's seen him. He said, no, I don't know where he is, but we gotta go. We're going to Doom Base. So all the heroes get ready and get together and they head towards Doom Base. So they get there and Doom is like, first things first. There's a guy I killed. So he brings Kang back to life. He brings him back. Kang's like, haha, you needed me after all. And then Doom's like, I'll send him back to where he came from. So he blasts him and Kang disappears. And then he's like, all right, so now back to business. Doom's like, Galactus was already found by his Herald Nova, so he's fine. So now really the only thing left is y'all. So the decision is yours. Everyone else has gone home. He's like, I wish to grant y'all a boon for all the suffering I've caused you over the years. Just state your desires and I'll grant it. I'm omnipotent. I don't have any any hatred anymore for y'all. I feel bad. I want to make this right. They're like, why don't we ask him to send us home? Reed's like, I can get us home. And Spider-Woman's staring intently at Claw. And Captain America's like, we don't need anything. And Doom's like, very well. Get out of here. Don't say I didn't ask, or don't say I didn't offer. Don't ask for shit ever again. Get out. Don't come back or I'll be pissed off. The heroes leave and Cap notices that Spider-Woman is gone, so he kind of sneak backs in and goes to Doom's quarters, and he sees Claw like tending to Doom. Doom is, his face is all fixed, he looks normal, and Claw is basically being his maid. And Captain America, and he's got pictures of his mom up on the wall and all kinds of stuff. And Cap's like, I thought you transcended this stuff. And Doom's like, regardless, why are you here? He's like, Spider-Woman, she's missing. And he's like, all right, Claw, go find her. So Claw goes to find her, and he does find her because she attacks him. And what happens is she transfers that energy that was in her, because it never left her apparently, into Claw. And then Claw goes off. So Cap says to Doom, you don't look pretty beyond humanity. Doom tells him about his mom, and he's like, Doom's like, I just choose this form so I can keep the power contained. And Cap's like, sure. Well, I just need to find Spider-Woman. Claw comes back in. Cap's like, did you find her? She's out in the hall. So Cap's like, okay. He goes, she leaves, and then Doom and Claw are alone. And then Colossus and Sanji are being all Episode 2 Attack of the Clones picnic in the gardens kind of scene. Just kind of lame. So the heroes are all gathered around. Cap's telling him what he learned. They're like, so what's the big deal about wanting him to rescue his mom? He's like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's beyond everything like he says. And the first thing he did was fix his face. That's pretty vain, pretty human, if you ask me. And the heroes are like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't leave him with all this power here. We should probably do something about it. And they're like, absolutely. So they're all like kind of split, and then Colossus finally shows up and he's like, yeah, I say we should fight. So they're all in agreement. We're going to go attack Doom. And at that very moment, a giant lightning bolt just strikes everyone, and the heroes are completely vaporized. They're dead. They're gone. And that is the end of issue 11. Issue 12 starts with all of the heroes dead. Yes, they're all completely dead. There's gore and viscera everywhere. Blood is oozing from the debris. All the names are listed. We've got Captain America, Charles Xavier, Wolverine, Storm, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Iron Man, Thing, Thor, Hawkeye, Colossus, Cyclops, Magneto, Johnny Storm, the Hulk, Rogue, Reed Richards, She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Nightwing, the Wasp. Everyone is dead. So that is where the heroes are, just completely wiped off the face of the map by Doom. And Saji sees this from the distance, and she mourns because it looks like there's nothing she can do, but it seems like she's heading down there anyway. And then we cut back to Doom, who's like, yeah, Claw, I killed them all. Now I gotta seal this power away before it gets the better of me. And Claw's got this weird little twinkle in his eye, and it seems like he's got a little plan going on. Remember, something got to Spider-Woman, and then it got to Claw, and so we cut to the villains floating through outer space. And Enchantress is trying to figure out what's going on. She's got some Asgardian magic, so she goes into the bathroom of the house where they're staying in the suburb of Denver that is hurtling through space right now. And she summons a water spirit, and she's like, you're going to tell me everything I want to know about the Beyonder and what happened and all this stuff. And it's like, sure. So the Beyonder's gone. Doom took care of that. He has all of his power now, but he brought y'all there. And the reason that Magneto was with him, because his interests are pretty selfless. Like, he's not selfish like all of you guys that are here. So that's why he was with the heroes, because he's really in it for the mutants and not just for himself. And Enchantress is like, oh, that's all well and good, but I want you to tell me more. I want you to transport me out of here. I need to go to Asgard. And she's like, I can't do that. I don't have the power for that. I can't show you that. And she's like, well, what good are you? She's like, well, I got to deal with Volcana. So she goes off to find her. And then we cut to Molecule Man and Doc Ock arguing. Doc Ock is like, hey, you're not going to get us home. I think you're a liar. And Owen's like, well, you're just a crazy old man, so I'm going to wrap you up in some concrete, and I promise you I will get home. Hey, has anyone seen Volcana? And Lizard's like, I saw her. She was with Enchantress in the forest. And Enchantress is like, with Volcana, she's like, remember that deal we made? I got you to Molecule Man. Well, now I'm going to use you to get somewhere. I'm going to drain your life force to get to Asgard, and you're going to die. And that's our deal. And she's like, oh no. And at this point, Molecule Man and Lizard show up. And she's like, oh crap. Well, I'm going to get out of here now. And She tries to teleport away before Volcanic dies, and Lizard jumps in with her. So they both end up on Battle World, because that's the closest she should transport. And then she completely drains all life of the Lizard. And yeah, she transports to Asgard, and that's the last we see of the Enchantress. And the last we see of the bad guys, because they're just on their way home, and it's pretty much assured that Molecule Man will get them home. So then we cut back to Claw and Doom, and it seems like Claw is up to something, because Doom was like, I can't fall asleep. There's still some power out there. And it looks like Doom is falling asleep, and Claw sneak up on him, and then Doom wakes out of his slumber. He's like, oh no, I almost fell asleep. Don't let that happen, Claw. And he's like, oh no, I would never let that happen. No, not me. And then Claw begins to ask, do you really think the heroes are dead? Isn't there a possibility they could still be alive? And Doom's like, what do you mean? I eradicate them. He's like, but don't you think that even though they're all dead, they have that healer, Sanji, and she could go down there and she could look through the corpses and she'd find her new lover, Colossus, and he could probably switch back to his metal form before that explosion happened. So she probably put all of her life force into him, and now she's dead, but Colossus is alive. And then he probably found Reed, and knowing that Reed is the smartest and he's also pretty resistant because of his rubbery body, he probably put him in a healing chamber, and Reed was probably able to bring all the other heroes back using this alien technology. And Doom's like, no, that's not possible, and stop talking about it, because you could make it possible just by me thinking about it. And Claw's like, oh, well, you never know. And then right at that moment, what happens? Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, comes flying through the wall, and they're like, oh no, all the heroes are back. And yes, they are all still alive, and Captain America has his broken shield because it was shattered on top of the wreckage of their corpses, and they are here for Doom. They're like, we are ready to fight you, Doom. So yeah, the heroes are all alive again. What Claw said happened indeed came to fruition. Maybe because that was already happening, maybe because Doom thought it. It isn't really explained, and it doesn't really matter, because all the heroes are here and they are ready to kick some Doom butt. And at this moment, Doom starts to lose his power. He's losing control. His power is running rampant. And Claw's like, hey, you can get control of this. Give me a fraction of your power and I can take care of this. And Doom is like, sure, I trust you. So foolishly, he gives Claw a little bit of his power. And when I say a little bit, it's like unfathomable the amount of power he gives him. But it's just a portion of Doom's power. And he's like, okay, go ahead, take care of these Avengers. They take care of these heroes. So they crash towards the base. And then Claw comes out and he sends a bunch of these creations that he's made. He's like, this is pretty cool. Other than sound, I can actually make real stuff. So the Avengers are fighting these things. Claw is seemingly helping Doom still. And then Captain America happens to eke past. And Claw's like, ha ha ha, well, everything's going according to plan. So then we have a final showdown between Dr. Doom and Captain America. Doom's like, if there's anyone who got here, I knew it would have been you. And he blasts Cap. Cap is eviscerated. But at that very moment, he actually reappears right in front of him. And Doom is like, huh? What's going on? And it could be that he doesn't want Captain America to actually die. He doesn't actually want to win. Or that Claw is doing this. But regardless, Doom keeps blasting Captain America, and Captain America keeps coming back and getting closer and closer. And by the time Cap is close enough to punch him, Doom just kind of crumples and the power starts to erupt from him. And that's when Claw comes in around the corner. He's like, yes, there's my power, because Claw is actually the Beyonder in disguise. So Claw runs up, he goes and grabs all of his power, and in that split second, he's like, oh no, Doom, I didn't mean to do this. And then suddenly, Claw and Doom and the Beyonder, fully restored, all vanish in front of Captain America's eyes. So the day is won, the heroes all regroup, they go back to Doom Base, and Spider-Man gets there. He's kind of hungry, so it's time to eat. And he's like, I wonder if anyone else's suit does this cool stuff, like kind of melt around their face so that they can eat food and just kind of bend to their will. And he asked them, and they're like, no, just regular old costume. And Spidey's like, huh, well, that might be a problem. And then Hulk gets a crutch because his leg got busted up in that battle against Claw's army and all that stuff. And the X-Men are like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden they see a one-armed guy walk in, and it's Kurt Connors. And he's like, I don't know how I got here. I think the Enchantress just burned all of the Lizard's essence out of me, and now it's just Kurt Connors left. So they have him there, and Reed finds out a way to send them all home. So they start going home in groups. Colossus doesn't really want to leave because he's kind of depressed, and they're like, hey, Kitty's back home. She's gone. There's nothing you can do. You really should come back with us. And begrudgingly, he's like, all right. So he joins the X-Men. They go home first. The Avengers are next, and they're like, She-Hulk, you coming? And she's like, no, I'm going to stay with the Fantastic Four because Ben Grimm is going to stay here because he can switch back and forth between the Thing at will here, and he really wants to figure out how to control that. And Reed is kind of, because Reed he's like, I think he could do this the whole time, but I'll have to let him figure out. So Ben's like, just leave the device with me, and I'll come back when I'm ready. So, the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the X-Men, they all go back. So everyone is back home at this point, and then it is just Ben Grimm left all by himself. Oh, and Lockheed's also come back because there's this like wish fulfillment aura. So Captain America's shield actually gets fixed before this happens. I almost forgot. So he kind of puts the pieces on the table and closes his eyes, and that gets brought back as a fully assembled shield. And he's like, cool, because there was no forges that could fix that. So Cap has got his shield. Lockheed, the dragon, comes back with a friend, and when Lockheed goes through, it kind of disrupts a little bit, but fortunately it doesn't break anything, so everyone gets to go home, and Ben Grimm is there by himself on Battleworld. Nice guy, Reed. A little bit of a worrywart though. I'm gonna be fine. A little lonesome maybe, but what's that what FDR said once? There ain't nothing to fear. The end.